Hello, Internet, and thank you very much for tuning into the Cloud Native FM podcast. This is your show. This is your host, Saim Safdur, the co founder of Cloud Native Islamabad community and the organizer of the very first KCD Pakistan 2023. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, regardless of where you are and watching and listening to me or watching or listening to the recording. Very warm welcome to the show, a show which brings in the latest and greatest news from the CNCF ecosystems to help you keep up to speed with what's going on, where you need to be focused on more, and where you meet the brave mind, awesome community member, co founder of the most watched open source projects. And today is May the 10th, and we're starting a new series of Women in Cloud Native because we know there's a lot of incredible women in this space who are creating wonderful awareness around cloud native technologies. They deserve appreciation. So without any further delay, this is a conversation. This is the whole show is now hosted by hands over to Tech with Hannah, and he will be hosting the show from onward. Over to you, Hannah, and I will be away from the show.
Hi, thank you. I'm excited to host and kick off this Women in Cloud Native series. My name is Hannah Sullickson, and I am a developer advocate at HubSpot. As part of this series, I'm going to be interviewing women and non-binary individuals who are active and within the cloud native community who are willing to share their technical expertise, projects that they're working on, or any other topics that they're willing to share. So I'm really excited about this opportunity. I've always been a huge advocate for women in tech as a woman myself in tech. And today I'm really excited because we're going to have Whitney Lee, who is a developer advocate from VMware, join us to share more about her project with Viktor Farcic from Upbound called You Choose. So today, Whitney and I are going to be discussing the project You Choose, and we're also going to be doing a chapter 1 recap, and I'm going to ask her a bunch of questions about it and then see if she can share anything about as well chapter 2. So Whitney, thank you for being here. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited too. Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be the first guest on your show, which is such an amazing show already. I love it. I love the concept and I love you. So therefore I love the show. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, before we dive into the project itself.
Okay. Oh God. Okay. So there's a lot. I'm relatively new to tech. I wrote my first line of code in January 2019. My son was in college for computer science at the time, and he told me I would like it. And so I did hundreds of hours of prep. I started a boot camp in July of 2019, and those were 11-hour days, 6 days a week. I graduated October of 2019, and then I had my first job in cloud as a cloud developer for IBM in November of 2019. So all in that year. And then I actually got started. I learned what Kubernetes was, I think, around October of 2019. So since then, at IBM, I was in pre-sales and I would build out proof of concept for clients. But when I wasn't on a gig, when I wasn't on a client engagement, I would make videos for the IBM Cloud YouTube channel. And I was kind of shocked that they let me do it because I was making a video. The first one I ever made was, what is etcd? And I think I had been in the cloud computing space for like 6 months maybe at the point when I made that video. but it's a great video. Like even watching it now, I was nervous as heck and my handwriting shaky. But like even watching it now, like because I was so new and had such a beginner's mind, then it actually made the video that I created very accessible. Yeah. And that's I'm afraid of, like, as I get to know too much, that I'll lose my ability to break things down into simple concepts. But that's that, and the fact that I'm willing to be completely vulnerable and say I don't know all the time. In fact, I insist on it. I will not pretend to know something I do not know. Those two things I think are what's helping me do well quickly.
Yeah, and that's something we'll also talk about is because I think what's so unique about the way that you share these technical concepts is with your creativity, with your artistic abilities. And I think that is so helpful. So someone is, because myself as well, I come from an untraditional background getting into tech, and I'm very much a visual learner. So when I see content like yours, when you're explaining these really technical, like, the architecture or just a tool and just the process of how it works, having that visual to kind of just bounce the idea in my head off of can be really assuring and really helpful. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thanks. I should probably say a little more about what I'm doing presently instead of just like, so now I work at VMware as a developer advocate, and I also make a lot of, I have 2 streaming shows, one of which we're going to talk about in depth today, and I also present a lot of conferences. So the streaming show, you can see in the background, I have this is a light board. This is my home and a streaming studio from my home. I did so well with the light board at IBM that they poached me to VMware and gave me my own light board studio. Like, I'm living the dream. And so I have a light board streaming show called Enlightning. So if you go to tanzu.tv/Enlightning would be where you could find that show. And it took me a while to kind of find my niche with it, but really I'm trying to take on learning every CNCF project through Enlightning. So in June, we're getting, let me tell you what Enlightning is. So with Enlightning, we have a guest comes onto the show, and usually a maintainer of the project or super user or maybe an advocate for that project. They come onto the show and then they teach me about a CNCF project. So tomorrow I'm doing a cluster API, which is the Kubernetes sub-project for a way to provision clusters. And then next week I'm doing Contour, as you can see, which is an ingress. So I'll have someone come on and they'll teach me the concepts, and they don't have code, they don't have slides, they'd have to do this with their voice. And then through our conversation, I'll draw on the board and I'll write out everything as I understand it. So sometimes that's text, sometimes that's like diagrams, but we have an interesting conversation where they have to explain to a relative beginner like me how their technology works or what they want, what they think is most important about their technology from scratch. And it makes for a great conversation and a fun time. And it's a kind and warm and welcoming environment. It makes me very happy.
Yeah, I can attest to this because I've watched a lot of those videos, and that's even how we connected in the first place. You had reached out to me to join to talk about
Argo.
Argo.
Yeah.
And I referred you to my friend Christian Hernandez at Red Hat, so I was glad that was able to work out.
He did a great job too. I like that episode.
Yeah. Well, I guess now we can dive into more about the You Choose project with Viktor Farcic. And that's most of what this discussion will be about. We're going to learn more about the chapter 1. Whitney's going to tell us all about it. We're also going to, once again, just dive into some of her creative abilities and how she implemented it into this project. And also I want to talk about the community engagement too, because that's a really unique factor about this project. And on top of trying to learn all of the different CNCF tools, projects, the entire landscape. So huge kudos to you. But yeah, so we will dive into that. And I do have some visuals just to help guide us in this discussion. But if you would, just kind of tell us in your words about this project.
Okay, You Choose. So Viktor and I are friends just from seeing each other around at conferences, and he was my guest for Crossplane when I did a Crossplane episode on Enlightning. And I asked him if he wanted to do a CFP together for a call for proposals together for KubeCon. And so he agreed, but we had no idea what we were going to present about. And so I've just kind of chewing on that. What am I going to present on with Viktor Farcic when Viktor Farcic is like the hugest expert of all time? And I'm like just learning stuff. It's like, how are we going to bridge that? And really, it just came to me like when I was doing the, we haven't talked about it yet, but when I was doing the keynote for KubeCon and learning all about platform engineering, one thing I was really trying to wrap my head around is what is the process an application goes through from getting to a developer's laptop all the way through to a production environment with observability and security and all of the things. And what I craved was like a linear explanation of the steps that an application might go through. But there's so many possible ways it can go that like no one's told that story. And so I said this to Viktor, and I even at that point had figured out it was like a shower aha moment. So it's like, what I want is a linear resource. And I was thinking maybe since there's so many projects that do each thing, we can make it like a choose your own adventure thing. So he like, just in that moment, he was like, oh my God. Like it was immediate, like this is going to be a thing. So he is very excited about it. I thought maybe it was a dumb idea. I didn't know. And he was immediately very excited about it. And we got to start, we wrote it up as a KubeCon proposal, but then we're like, this is going to be a lot of work if it does get accepted to KubeCon, which it did. We need to be preparing for it now, like yesterday, because we have so much to do to be able to pull this off. It's a really ambitious talk. So we created a You Choose streaming show. Yep. So, that's us. That's the show. So the You Choose streaming show, this is chapter 1. We've made it through chapter 1 so far, and that's what our talk was about. So every episode is a new system design choice. So, all right, we'll talk about this more, but our application starts on a developer laptop, and then we'll do like build a container image, and then choose an image registry and push the image to the registry. What about the application configuration? So those are 3 separate episodes. And then for each episode, we know all the CNCF technologies, or we try to, related to that particular step, and we'll invite someone on from each technology. So our guests are representatives of each technology, and the guests each get only 5 minutes to describe their technology. And it has to be that fast because what the guests want to tell us about is all the latest features and the bells and whistles and all that stuff. And as a new learner, I have no capacity for that. I just need to know what your tool does. Give me the basics, give us the 411. And so by limiting the time that they're allowed to speak, we're hoping to limit all the extra information that will lose the point of like really tell us just the main feature of what your technology does. And so we have those presentations. We have a question and answer section, and then we have a vote. So for build container image, we had Carvel K-build and Lima, which is actually underscored by container D, which is actually uses build kit under the hood. So that's like the Docker file solution. And then cloud native build packs, which doesn't use a Docker file. So we had those 3 choices, and then people had a few days to vote. We put the vote up on Twitter. People had a few days to vote. And then the chosen technology, we're trying to get away from winning and losing language because
I like that. Yes.
Yeah. So the chosen technology at the beginning of the next week's episode will implement that into an ongoing demo. So we had a demo going for all of chapter 1 to get the application. So the beginning is the developer's laptop. The end state is a running application that is connected to a backing service that's able to be further developed natively on Kubernetes. And so those are the system design choices, which we'll dig into those a little more in a bit. Yes.
So, and then this was your final presentation after chapter 1 was completed. And I thought it was just really neat because even at this, giant conference, those of us who have been to KubeCons, you were able to engage with the community here through an app. And I also thought that was just really neat and a great way to have them included. And I guess how was the final presentation after the CFP was obviously accepted and all of that?
I can't wait to talk about this very quickly. I don't have a way to see the chat. So if anyone's saying anything in chat, will you let me know or highlight comments or whatever? Okay. So if people are talking to us, I can't see it. And so we did get accepted to KubeCon, and this presentation was equal parts horrifying and fun because it was so ambitious. So basically, we figured, so getting through all of these design choices in only 35 minutes, Viktor and I put together like the only way we're going to be able to get this done is if we split the screen and he does the demo simultaneously to me describing every single project. So I knew the knowledge pretty deeply since we went through all of the streaming show, but it was a frantic environment, but a friendly environment. And we had a voting app so people could vote live. So I would describe the 3 projects. Immediately people would vote. Viktor would start implementing the chosen project, and I would start describing the next choices for the next system design choice. So we practiced it a lot, but I didn't have a lot of confidence because he's going to build the demo live. There's an infinite number of ways it can go. Not infinite, but many ways, possible ways it can go. And he's building it live based on the audience choices, and it was exciting.
Yeah,
and a lot of fun to do.
Yeah. When I was watching the recap, because I wasn't there, I was surprised. I was like, oh, they're doing this like on the spot. Okay. It's like, wow, okay. Because I've definitely done demonstrations live, and they've not gone always great. So I've been on that other end.
And I described like all 16 projects, I think, with no speaker notes, just off the cuff.
Wow.
Like I'm having a conversation from the center of the stage. Yeah. And Viktor's building it in the background.
Yeah,
That's great.
You work with them a lot, so it's no surprise. Yeah.
I joke with him all the time. I'm gonna get him a best friends bracelet. I'm gonna make him wear like half of a heart necklace where when we put them together it says best friends. Yeah.
I would love that. Yeah. I would absolutely love that. Or like I choose you, something like that.
Yeah.
Anyways. But something that I also, like I previously mentioned is that you are able to implement your creative abilities into these projects, and you're not, this isn't new to you. Like you'd mentioned at IBM, you also had the ability to use a bright light, I believe, or like the screen, and then also with VMware and Enlightning. And so previously, I know at another KubeCon in Detroit, you also did something similar in the sense of your creativity. And I guess, can you share a little bit about, how have you seen, by providing these visuals, how has it helped people? And also, just tell us a little bit about your creative process and why you choose to implement it into these technical concepts or technical work.
So this was an amazing, this KubeCon presentation was actually a keynote. So I just can't believe my life. Every day I just wake up and pinch myself like, is this real? And so I the very first KubeCon I even attended as a guest was KubeCon LA. It was in the fall of 2020.
Yeah, I was there.
2021. Yeah. And so 1 year later, the idea that I would be doing a keynote at the KubeCon 1 year later was just preposterous. I'd been an advocate for about a year. And so, and then I submitted with Mauricio Salatino, who goes by Salaboy, and he of course, just like Viktor, is a freaking rock star and knows so much. And again, we're at this place where he knows so much, and I'm just like trying to wrap my head around things. And so hearing him, I guess I'm doing the same thing I did at IBM. Like I'm hearing all this complex stuff. I'm trying to understand this big picture of how these tools work together. And I'm taking it to like a child's mind level to be like, really break it down into super basic concepts. And then with an expert like Mauricio in the mix, like how do I bring my voice into the conversation? And that ended up being through ridiculous illustrations and storytelling. So we had, our application was a rainbows as a service, static images of rainbows as a service application. And then what our developer needed to do was very urgently, very importantly, add a spider into that rainbow. That was our demo application. And then You can see the app team is illustrated. The platform team was superheroes are coming in to save the day and make it easy for the application team to focus on developing the app and not have to worry about the complex infrastructure details. You can see in the photo there, that's the friendly platform API where the app team can get their development environment, for example, in a self-service way. So it just, I brought in my own illustrations, which I have a degree in art actually, but it's a photography degree. I'm not actually an illustrator in any way, which I think you can tell by the very childlike nature of the drawings.
I still love it. I still think this is professional, whatever.
I had some sketches of the drawing, and we had to meet with the CNCF co-chair to show them like how our presentation's coming along before the keynote. Yeah. And the fact that they approved those drawings was a little bit surprising to me. I wasn't sure that they were gonna that I was gonna get away with it. But we really did describe everything in like a very accessible way. Anyone in the audience, regardless of whether they were an expert or whether they were a super beginner, everyone could had something they could learn from the presentation. And I was very proud of that. Like keeping things accessible is something I want to do for my entire career.
Yeah, I think it's a huge thing that I feel like up until these last few years, I'm so happy that people have been really making an effort to create content and create just anything in general in regards in tech that is more accessible. So, and also just inclusive as well. So one of the reasons we're doing this talk right now is just to just elevate voices and to share technical things and talk about them and just let folks know that like, hey, if you're interested in this, if you want to learn this, it's possible. Like, don't shrug it off. Don't look at the documentation on a website and be like, oh my goodness, like, what is this? Like, it's possible. And there are resources out there that will help you learn it, like yours. So, yeah.
Thanks. There's a lot of jargon that's hard to cut through. And even now, I'm still... like I'm learning about SigStore and security and assigning happens by a private key can do a signing, but people also say certificate does the signing. Like, and then TLS is the same thing as SSL. And then there's just so many things that mean the same thing when used interchangeably, but you would never know that as a beginner. And on the flip side, there might be two words that are the same word, but in different contexts mean the same, like totally different things. Like a Knative service and a Kubernetes service are totally different abstractions, which I didn't understand when I was at the beginning of. So trying to untangle all that, I think, is part of breaking it down into these building blocks that can then be illustrated or talked about or just like be really clear about what you're saying and not making any assumptions about what the viewer should and shouldn't understand.
That's a number one rule is to never assume somebody understands whatever it is and just do whatever you can to explain it step by step.
Yeah, it's hard because you can't quite say never. At some point, you need to make some assumption, or you're like every single resource you make, you have to explain what a CRD is again, like a custom resource definition. Yeah. Sure. So it's hard. I'm always thinking about that line though. It's good. I could say always be aware of that line or be aware of the assumptions that you're making if you're choosing to make assumptions.
Yeah, that's good advice. Yes, I would agree.
Yeah.
But sorry.
In this particular illustration, what it's illustrating is the platform team collaborating with the app team to figure out what tools will best help the app team. And then the platform team is building those tools plus security and policy into the friendly platform API that the app team can then access in a self-service way. That's what's happening in this video right now in this illustration. It's so silly. Yeah.
Okay, I guess, and so this kind of leads into our next, discussion about going back to you choose, within this entire project, you created essentially a hero. And so I wanted you to kind of just explain the concept of who is this hero? How is this hero guiding us as a community member through your project? And then, just the storyline.
Cool. So with You Choose, we have a repo where you can go to our repo and you can choose your own adventure through all of the different technologies in chapter 1. So I think there's 16 of them. I'm not sure, maybe 17. But so right now today, you could follow this link and you can choose your own adventure through chapter 1, which we have finished. And at the beginning of each, I've created this hero. And so basically it's like a hero's journey, just like a choose your own adventure book. I wanted it to have a main character. So this choose your own adventure is the application, and then the application can take many forms. So this is the beginning. This is our application's first form, where it's just code on a developer's laptop. And then I think right now we're going to go through all the different forms, right? Yeah. and, and then after, so the reason I like to do this, well, besides it's just fun, and I just enjoy being goofy and irreverent and like taking this like super stuffy, like hardcore tech stuff and just making it silly. The reason to do this for me is like having a way to scaffold the conversation for beginners. And these characters actually appear in our KubeCon talk really small on the screen. They probably go completely unnoticed because there's so much other exciting things happening during the talk. But so this is our same hero, named hero, and this hero is the container image. And so once we choose the container image, the next technology we need to choose is a container registry. And once we've done that and pushed it, then our hero's form elevates to... Yeah, now our hero is a container registry holding a stream of container images. And so once the next decision we need to make is to define the application's configuration and define how it's going to get deployed. And so then so after we choose that technology that does that, then our hero becomes... So now we're a YAML. Hero is a YAML file, and you can see that hero it says name hero on there even. You can see that hero is referencing that container registry, which has that stream of images in it. So now that's our hero's form next, but now we need to add a backing service to the environment. And so hero needs a sidekick. And so hero gets a sidekick. Yeah, and that's a database cat.
I love it.
And it's named Little DB. And then we went through some schema technologies in the you choose, and schema hero allows you to declaratively define your schema in YAML. So we add that to our story. So our next illustration. Our database cat has a YAML.
I love it.
So now, and it's all packaged together. And so now we have everything that we need to deploy our application into our development environment and have it work the way we want it to. The last technology choice we make is how to, different technologies to be able to develop that application in a fast feedback, like a near real-time way in a development environment. And then once that happens, then our final form is,
Whoops.
next one.
My
So there's our application, which is actually running now. Our hero is chilling on the cloud, and hero's connected to the backing service, Little DB. And then we have our developer that's connected to hero. And my friend Thomas said I should put an Easter egg spider in there for people who liked the KubeCon talk.
You should.
So there's a little spider by the developer's ankle. Yeah.
I love
Yeah. So that's how it takes super serious stuff and make it goofy, but also very informative. Like having that illustration, for me at least, that visual really helps me understand what's happening here, the concepts. So I'm not sure yet. I don't have it in my mind how the hero is going to grow and change as we do the next steps. Yeah. But I'll cross that bridge when I get there.
I'm excited to see, though. I mean, I can imagine there's going to be probably some additional characters. So, I don't know. Well, I don't. That's not true. I don't know that for sure. But
they'll have to look a little different for production. Yeah, maybe have some battle armor on. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What's policy look like? What's security look like? What's observability look like? Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, have a helmet. All of a sudden a rainbow helmet. That would be great.
Exactly. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Yeah. Also, keeping in mind, I'm not very good at drawing. It'll be great.
And I guess also I just wanted to make a note that you do have a repo. So if folks did want to check out the project, they could reference it here. So there's that. But also, is there anything in regards? We had mentioned, from a character's perspective, but as far as anything in regards to chapter 2, when do you anticipate? Starting to work with Viktor on that? Are you already in the works? And what can folks anticipate?
So Viktor and I actually just talked on Monday about when can we do this, and he's traveling a bunch. So we're going to start July 4th, Independence Day, will be our first You Choose Chapter 2. And Chapter 2 is getting our application hero from where they are now, chilling in that development environment, through to a production environment. So it's only 4 episodes because some of the decisions we already made in chapter 1. Okay. So the first one will be how to provision a production cluster. Okay. Chapter 2 will be configuring the environment to synchronize with GitOps. So we're going to take on GitOps, which is we're going to have a Flux representative and an Argo CD representative on the same stream. And then we also have a Carvel Cap controller. So with 3 options there. After that, we will be talking about Ingress. So we're going to do Emissary Ingress. We're going to have a Contour guest, and we'll have Nginx, Ingress Nginx, which is a Kubernetes project, I believe. And so we'll configure our Ingress. And then we have 2 decisions we've already made, which is configuring the application. So the tools we had for the choice for that in chapter 1 was customize Helm, Carvel YTT, and CDKates. And Carvel YTT got chosen, so we're going to use Carvel YTT throughout the whole rest of the time because we don't want to have to repeat episodes. And so Carvel YTT won. And so we have that decision already made and implementing the database. So we want to bring our database into our production environment, and the people already chose Crossplane to do that instead of Helm. So then we'll have a recap where we work our way through the demo, start to finish, incorporating those 3 choices that were made plus the 2 choices that were made in the last chapter. And then we'll get our little buddy through all the way to production. And then chapter 3 is going to be security, which has 23 projects. And that's going to be where it starts to get like really hairy and messy and complicated. So wish us luck.
I will. I was going to ask about that. When there are multiple projects to choose from, how do you anticipate to manage, or how do you anticipate to choose? Will there be different rounds where
I think, like for policy, for example, I think we have 6 or 8 different choices for policy. And I'm starting to do Enlightning episodes around each of them. For me, it helps me to like have some context. I'm trying to get Enlightning episodes done in parallel with the You Choose choices. And we're thinking right now of doing it tournament style when we have too many choices to fit into one episode. That's the thought, but we have to hash it out. If you have any ideas.
I remember you'd mentioned it to me just privately about that, and I was like, oh, that's neat. Okay.
A policy throwdown.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Policy madness. Yeah. It'll be just like March Madness, where people can bet and fill out a bracket sheet preseason. Yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah, I love that. So instead of your team roster, it'll be like your CNCF just approved or like part of their projects. Yeah, that's awesome.
And for chapter 1, we had one dead end in there where one of the projects was not CNCF, and that was fun during the live presentation. We were hoping people would vote for the one. They actually didn't, but I think we'll include a dead end or 2 at least in the security one. Maybe not. I don't know. We haven't figured it out, but the dead ends are fun, and I think true to the whole like you choose your own adventure books that we're all remembering as part of this. Yeah.
I love that. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to mention about chapter 1 or the project moving forward, or do you have anything as far as any conferences coming up where you'll also be talking about this that folks should check out?
Viktor and I have 2 conferences. I'm actually so into what I'm doing at home. I'm hoping to travel and speak at conferences less. So I started turning down conferences. But we're doing DevOps Days Amsterdam, and we're doing a go-to conference in Denmark, Aarhus, Denmark. We have those two coming up. And then I'm going to go into hiding so I can prepare all this stuff. I won't be in hiding. I'll be making Enlightning episodes and You Choose episodes. I will be very much out in public, but I just won't be out in the world.
Gotcha.
And not my physical form.
Gotcha.
And we're applying our chapter. So we're doing a chapter 2 abstract so we can apply it to talk. So we're going to apply chapter 2 and hopefully maybe get to talk about it at KubeCon NA. And we're going to apply it to KubeCon China too. So
Ooh, that'll be great. Yeah.
I think we're going to be doing this for years, Hannah.
I was gonna crack a joke like this is gonna be the never-ending project.
Oh, I'll say one more thing. We do want to make it an actual book too that we'll self-publish. So one of these days we'll get chapter 1 zipped up enough that we can release it as chapter 1 of a book that people can.
I would love that. That would be great because I can imagine developers could then just follow along and try to recreate the same project, and that is awesome. That's a great idea. Oh, I'm excited for that to happen.
It's me too. Thanks, Hannah.
Yeah. Well, awesome. I guess is there anything else that you wanted to just chat about or anything? I know that we anticipated just to make this a little bit shorter, but also we're friends in real life, so and we have a lot in common, and I'm just really excited about this is our first video, so and I'm really thankful you joined.
Yeah, I'm so glad to be here. Let's ask a quick question of to each other or to chat, like what do you think we can do to help make tech more inclusive? One thing we were talking about during pre-show is how few women there are, at least in the cloud native space. I took a photo at KubeCon. I was sitting in an aisle, and just behind me, just a sea of white men, just like literally 100 white men, not a different face in the bunch. And I just took the photo. I didn't do anything with it because I'm just not a negative post kind of person. But it's definitely like we need more women voices.
We do. We really do. And I think part of the issue is that it can be really intimidating. And then B, I think like female non-binary folks, we just need to be able to include them and just say, open that possibility in conversations. And I think I might stress this to any, white cis male in the audience or who's watching, that if you do work with folks who are a little bit more quiet, or somebody who is, because admittedly in my experience, I've always been like the single female on my team. And I think to be able to just make space for somebody, whether it's a meeting, whether it's an opportunity to do something like this, whether it's just asking someone to contribute to a blog, something like that, that's going to help build confidence and create more awareness around folks that look like us and others so that they feel represented. And I think that's my advice. And I think one of the reasons I want to do this is because I'm a pretty shy person in general. And so just having the ability to just bring my friends on and share the awesome things they're doing will help inspire others. So
yeah, I like what you're saying about asking like white cis people. I think you don't even have to anticipate what someone else might need. You could just say, is there anything I can do to support you right now? It can be that easy and that open-ended, but being approached might help a shy person out of their shell, or let them know it's safe. And then if you are a shy person, it's not easy, I understand, to just not be a shy person, but I guess I try to lead by example in terms of like just being goofy and asking silly questions on my show, and just like letting people know like what I'm always doing a risk versus benefit calculation in my head, like literally always. I have such a procedural mind. But like, if I'm afraid to ask a question, what's the risk? Like, I might look silly. Like, I actually don't care about looking silly. Like, that's on, if someone's judging me, that's on them. Like, that's a negative thing about them. That's not a negative thing about me.
I agree.
If and I lost my train of thought. But another thing I like to do is when I see someone who I think has a lot of unearned confidence, like, wow, they just really are talking like they know everything, and they're just as new as I am. Like, instead of me judging them, instead what I do is like, okay, how can I channel that? Like, maybe I need to think of that person when I'm feeling too shy to speak up because I don't know. I'll be like, oh, well, that person spoke up and they didn't know anything, so I can do it too. Yeah. Use them as an example instead of as somebody to judge.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, it kind of flips the script.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. But I think it's up to us, to those of us who are in the industry, to encourage folks to just take a little risk, I guess. Like you said, like ask the silly question, take that opportunity. So that would be my biggest advice, because it's not easy, but once you start to like do small things like that, like ask a question, or try to share whatever you're learning publicly. Those little steps are like building this bigger muscle that you have no idea about. That's just building your confidence and just helping you grow technically and just personally. So because I think. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, if you look back at something you did in the past and you cringe, it's a great thing, actually. That means you're growing. I kind of can't even watch the beginning Enlightning episodes. They hurt me. But that's great. That's something to be proud of. Like, look how far I've come, instead of feeling badly about the content I made back then. And Viktor's actually said the same thing about his channel too.
Really?
Like, yeah.
See, yeah. It's we all started from somewhere. That's something you have to remember when you do see these folks, and they're blowing you away with their technical expertise. Remember, they didn't start out that way. They built up to that.
And you can too.
Thanks. Well, thank you. I'm so glad once again that you joined. And I'm hoping that moving forward, I can continue to just find friends and folks in the industry who want to join me in these discussions, share what they're working on, and just help, just create more awareness for folks and introduce new faces, or, friendly faces like Whitney's, because we love to see it. So yeah.
Yeah, I can recommend some folks to you too. So
I would love that.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Well, I guess that's it.
Yeah, applause to you. Congratulations on your first show. I'm really excited for you, and I'm rooting for you every step of the way.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it for now, and I will be following